After questioning registered sex offender Jacob Kinn for 4 hours about a kidnapping and murder in Bemidji, Minnesota, cops have no choice but to let him go.
Did you know when you released him that he held the answers to where this little girl was?
Definitely. It was him, no doubt in our minds. It was him.
And watching him walk out that door had to be tough.
Yeah.
Jacob had willingly left behind plenty of evidence for investigators: his clothes, vehicle, and most importantly, his cell phone.
That phone data unlocked a whole new area that just really turned this case upside down for us.
Minutes after Jacob had walked out of the sheriff's station, Special Agents William Bennett and Jacob Hod used special equipment to access everything on his phone. Some of what they find, they expected to see on the phone of a convicted child predator.
You could see his sexual desires, is what he was into, because his phone was full of other images of other kids.
But it's what they didn't expect to find that leaves them stunned. A series of deleted text messages they were about to recover.
I couldn't believe it. I was actually sitting here, and the investigators were at the main table going over the case and what to do next and what steps, and I yelled, "Bingo." I said, "You guys got to come look at this."
The texts were between Jacob Kinn and Melissa Norby, the babysitter who was murdered and then set on fire inside her home. The messages detail an elaborate plan between the two to kidnap the 5-year-old daughter of Melissa's best friend.
I've never seen something documented so complete.
According to the text messages, the kidnapping was actually supposed to happen a week earlier. Remember, Amanda Smith, Brittany's mother, told cops that Melissa often took care of the little girl at her house.
But I think the little girl got sick or something happened that it didn't work out, so he was pretty upset that she wasn't coming over.
Melissa and Jacob first hatched a crazy random attack while she was watching the girl.
The initial plan was that Melissa was going to be assaulted, carjacked basically, and some unknown man was going to take Brittany.
Once the little girl was in their own clutches, they'd hide the child so Jacob could keep her for himself.
So then once the carjacking was supposed to have taken place, then Melissa was then, obviously they'd have Brittany, and it was going to be Jacob's toy, as he called her.
Why would Melissa allow someone to hurt her best friend's daughter?
She definitely wanted to do anything she could to have a relationship with him, and at all costs.
Think she loved him?
I think she wanted to be loved.
Do you think Jacob Kinn loved Melissa?
Not in the least bit. Jacob Kinn only maintained that relationship with Melissa because he could have access to a little girl.
Investigators may never know for sure why the kidnapping plot wasn't carried out the way Melissa and Jacob had discussed, but Senior Special Agent Chad Musaeus has an idea. That Jacob had his very own diabolical plan.
So she willingly, in my estimation anyway, willingly was bound and tied up, and then at the last seconds of her life choked out because Jacob Kinn didn't want a witness to the abduction.
Whatever role Melissa Norby may have played in the abduction didn't matter in that moment. The only thing that did was finding the little girl.
We know the statistics. We know what is likely happened. And we're scrambling.
Even though Jacob Kinn told investigators he had been fishing at Clear Lake, a cell phone ping put him in an area known as Big Fork, about 80 miles from the town of Bemidji. During the time detectives were busy questioning Jacob at the station, Special Agents Don Newhouse and Rob Frack with the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension were told to head to Big Fork to start searching for the girl. It was the middle of the night and not a street light in sight.
It's been described as finding a needle in a haystack. Is that accurate?
Yeah, when you're driving out there, it can be pretty overwhelming when you're looking at all the thousands of acres of land where you could hide somebody.
But before leaving the sheriff's station, the men got a good look at Jacob's Jeep.
The undercarriage had a lot of vegetation, grass, yellow and white flowers hanging from the undercarriage. muddy tires. It's pretty clear that he was out, we figured, in a wet area, possibly driving in a hayfield or somewhere he had to go through a lot of grass and wildflowers.
That didn't exactly narrow down the search area. Much of Big Fork is rural. Fortunately, back at the sheriff's station, a phone call leads to a critical clue.
The dispatcher says, wait a second here. We have a kin who owns property in that same area, 3.1 miles from the cell phone tower.
Jacob Kin's family owns property in the area. Don and Rob make it to Big Fork just as the sun was coming up.
We got the Big Fork right about the time where we could start seeing things without a flashlight or headlights.
Another advantage, compliments of Mother Nature. A heavy downpour overnight.
A lot of the roads in the areas that we were checking are dirt roads, and that's a relatively rural area, and there shouldn't be a lot of traffic up and down some of those roads.
They knew if anyone had driven in the area recently, there would be fresh tire marks. The two men start making their way from the cell phone tower to the direction of the ping from Jacob's phone, just as they reach the road leading towards the Kin's family property.
That's where you could see clearly that there are tire tracks coming off of the gravel road onto the pavement, dirt deposited on the pavement, and we stopped right there and Rob started taking photos.
The tracks matched the tires on Kin's Jeep.
You knew you were on the right path.
That was the only lead that we had at that point.
So what do? Do you drive out there or do you walk?
On that particular spot, we drove down the gravel road cautiously, looking off to the right and left, with our windows rolled down, trying not to drive on top of these tire tracks. We didn't want to lose the tire tracks.
After about a half mile, the gravel road came to an end, and it was clear which direction they needed to go.
Nobody had driven down that road for weeks, except for those tire tracks that were in and out after it had rained.
The men get out and start to follow the tracks on foot.
So this is the area where you parked and then walked.
Correct,
That's right.
And at this point, you still had no idea where you were going.
We knew the tracks were going that way. We had no idea how far back the tracks are going.
Up next, the tire tracks lead directly to a camper and an ending no one expected. The door to the camper was taped shut with electrical tape. Rob removes the tape and slowly opens the door.